Hi everyone, and welcome to our online event into digital careers. This event is designed to provide you with valuable insights and information into the digital job market and the skills and qualifications required to be successful within this field. So our expert panel, who I will be introducing you to shortly, will be sharing their experiences, advice on how to prepare and succeed in the digital careers market, including what kind of jobs are available and how to get started, and what employers are looking for, more importantly. So thank you for joining us, and we hope you find this event really informative and useful. Please add any questions into the chat and we will endeavour to answer them throughout the event this evening. So I'm going to start off by asking the panel, who have kindly given up their time for this evening for this event, to go through and just tell us who they are and a little bit about themselves. So Dom, I'm going to start with you and AD.
Absolutely, yes. My name is Dominic O'Farrell and I'm the Technical Manager for the Digital Media and Arts provision at Westminster Kingsway College. I've been here a number of years. I've been fortunate enough to see it kind of grow and evolve and change, and I'm hoping we can discuss some of those changes and evolutions over the course of the next sort of 45 minutes. Okay.
My name is Adi Anwar and I am the Curriculum Manager for the Digital and Games area. I taught animation and games for 12 years, started off as a graphic design teacher in the art and design area, and learned how to animate and mentor in the industry as well.
Yes, thank you. And Carlo, let's pass over to you.
Hi, welcome everybody. So my name is Carlo and I am head of the Digital Skills Academy. My background is in careers education and employer partnerships. At the moment, I'm working on the Digital Skills Academy, which is supported by the Mayor. So a key focus for us is about bringing industry into our training provision, making sure it's relevant and informed, and making sure that we're up to date with the skills that young people need and adults that come through Westminster Kingsway College. Thank you.
Carlo. Zoe.
Hi there, I'm Zoe. So I am an animation lecturer and 3D lecturer here at the college. I work in level 3 in NextGen. And before that, I was a kind of animator, director, and also a little bit of a kind of producer as well.
Fantastic, thank you. Let's go to Ellie.
Hi, my name's Ellie. I'm a former student of the college and will actually be starting as a lecturer on Monday.
Fantastic, thank you, Ellie. And then we've got Phil Atfield, please.
Hi, I'm Phil. I'm a co-founder of NextGen Skills Academy. My background is as a visual effects artist and supervisor and proprietor of a small studio before I got into skills and apprenticeships and all things like that, but more of that to come later.
Fantastic. And then lastly, Suj, please. You need to turn your microphone on, please.
I saw that. Hi everyone, I'm Suj. I'm the CEO and founder of Digital Influx Academy. We teach and help people find work in user experience design. We're currently working with Carlo and West Kings to support students find work in the design field.
Fantastic, thank you. I think that's everyone. And myself, I'm head of school for DMA, which is Digital Media and Arts at West King. And my background is predominantly education, but I'm a creative at heart. So my specialist area is graphics. All right, so thank you everyone for introducing yourselves. And as you can see that we've got lots and lots of experience on the call today. So please do put your questions in the chat and we will endeavour to answer those throughout. But we do have questions to ask the panel. So we will start off with Dom.
Thanks, Nikki. Yeah, I wanted to get started by bringing Phil into the conversation because I think the relationship that we've had with NextGen Skills Academy over the last number of years has been sort of symbolic of what we've been trying to do. And I think in education, it's no secret that we're being asked to get much closer to industry and make sure we're getting students really work ready and get those skills that industry require. So I wanted to ask you, Phil, what is NextGen Skills Academy? Why does it exist? And maybe we can sort of talk about what we've done together over the past few years.
Sure, absolutely. Next Gen Skills Academy was founded back in 2014 as a co-investment between industry and government. So government put some money in and industry put some time and effort in. And it was a response to a report that had come out a couple of years prior to that, which was highlighting skills issues across games, animation and visual effects. That was called the Next Gen report. Hence, we kept the name Next Gen in a very unimaginative way for the to respond to that. And one of the things the report called for was a skills academy. I think at the time it was written, it's probably envisaged as a bricks and mortar academy, probably in a film studio somewhere, but it's morphed in the intervening period into an organization filled with employers. And the first thing they wanted to do was to try and make sure that new entrants to the industry were more work ready. So typically a lot of the complaints at the time were around graduates coming in, so people who've done a degree coming in not being work ready. When employers were looking at the gnarly issue of how to change that, how to make that better, they decided that the best way to do that would be to write a level 3 course and some apprenticeships, which is what happened. So straight out of the block by 2016, I think it was, we had what we refer to as the Next Gen course, but is actually the AIM Awards Extended Diploma in Games, Animation and Visual Effects Skills. Trips off the tongue. I can see Zoe is nodding now. But the employers that helped write that were keen to set the fundamentals for learners, and not just to be focused on just one sector, because the skills that you might learn for animation could be used in visual effects or in games. If you learn about games engines, you can probably use that in animation and visual effects as well. So there's a huge convergence across these skills areas. And that's since then, we've seen those same skills used in areas like virtual production. So that's what Next Gen was set up to do, which was to try and improve the readiness and the diversity of the workforce coming in.
Thanks, Phil. Yeah, and we, maybe it was 2017 that we adopted that qualification, wasn't it? That we started with our.
Yeah, that would have been the first time around, I think. And one of the interesting things about Westminster Kingsway, which isn't repeated across loads of colleges, and we now work with 16 across the country, across England, is that Westminster Kingsway always had a focus on creative digital. There's some quite arbitrary silos produced for digital and creative in design. Government's really guilty of that. Government doesn't help. But one of the interesting things about Westminster Kingsway was the recognition that digital skills were and are really essential in a lot of modern creative settings, and that was an attraction to start working together. And that's led on from not just the level 3, but for Westminster Kingsway delivering apprenticeship training at level 4. And I apologize to the audience now if I'm talking jargon when I say level 3 and 4. By level 3, I typically mean a course that you do between 16 and 18. An A level might be a level 3, a BTEC might be a level 3, an extended diploma is a level 3. And level 4 is if you went to university, your first year is referred to as a level 4. And so the apprenticeships we're talking about, because the policymakers like to have things very neatly arranged. They like their apprenticeships to slot into equivalence in the world of academia. So that's why we have level 4 apprenticeships, which are entry-level roles for visual effects. So we've got 3 standards of VFX now, 1 for animation. There is 1 for games, but that's around digital communities, managing digital communities online. Still hopeful of getting something more technical based and design based for games. It's possible, but sometimes these things take a long time to change.
Yeah, thanks. And I think what's been really exciting, sort of linking up with you, Phil, and going through these things is not only did we completely sort of turn around some curriculum areas, but the sort of professional development that NextGen provides to teachers at Westminster Kingsway College that are able to go into these big visual effects companies that are responsible for, you know, creating all the assets in Marvel films and all the Hollywood glitz that you see. Our teachers get to go into their studios and see how it's really done. And I know that, AD, we had a long conversation about how we could replicate what is known as dailies in those industry, which is where they, you know, take a shot every day and literally have to sit with their supervisor and it gets critiqued and turned around. So I don't know, AD, do you want to talk about the way in which you try to mimic that in our course?
Yeah, sure. So myself and a couple of the lecturers we mentored in Framestore during one of the NextGen Insights events for roughly about a week. And while we're there, we're mentoring our learners, but we're also observing how industry do things. And we took those notes, spoke to Dominic afterwards and our heads of schools, and implemented all the good practices we saw from industry that a college could replicate quite quickly. So our classrooms, they're pretty much not classrooms, they're studios now. And the layout, with our humble budget, we've tried to replicate what we saw in Framestore, and computers with dual screens and industry software. We use the same software as what we saw when we visited. And we've, instead of dailies, we call them rough cut reviews. And right now, Zoe is running the rough cut reviews once a week and feedbacking to the students all the good stuff they're doing and all the improvements they could make to their work.
Yeah, it's a way, I think what we've done there, the reason I'm bringing it up is because we're sort of short-circuiting the usual educational durations of giving feedback. There might be, traditionally, you might have a longer period of time before students get feedback. We're trying to accelerate that. The notion being that you can progress further and faster if you get feedback more frequently. And it's sort of getting them, and I'm hoping Zoe might add to this, or Ellie, that you know,
of course,
certain resilience you need getting critiqued more often, right? How does
yeah,
that
no, absolutely. I mean, I think one of the things you've said about rough cuts is, you know, I feed back to the students, but the important part of rough cuts as well is getting the students to feedback to each other. So, you know, the students will be presenting the work, and they'll be like sort of groups of about 6 or 8, and it'll be about them showing their work and their fellow students also telling them what they think they did well, what they can improve, because learning how to actually feedback to other people, I think, is one of those skills that maybe people don't necessarily pick up, and is very useful to kind of instill very early on, of how you give useful feedback and also receive feedback and apply it to your work.
Yeah, absolutely. I wondered, Ellie, if you had anything to sort of say from your recent experience in the workplace about those kind of professional skills, or what industry wants out of a student, what kind of attributes they would be looking for. Would you be able to speak to that a little bit?
Yeah, so similar to firstly what Zoe said about sort of like peer assessment and things. I was lucky enough to be the lead environment artist at my industry job, and even people below me who I was working with on certain environments and things. Just because I was the lead doesn't mean I wouldn't take their criticism, because I was in a higher up position. I made sure I took criticism equally, and that was something I definitely learned within college as well, with weekly evaluations and things.
Brilliant, thank you. Yeah, that's we find that quite important with sort of what we've learned from industry in our corner of the world is some of those skills that we wouldn't necessarily go for. So some of the conversations I had around technology, it was great. I was able to go into these big global VFX houses, look at what they used, and actually make a strong case at our institution to be able to replicate that. And we've had a load of success. You'll notice when Zoe talks again, she's sitting in front of glorious new Alienware hardware, which is sort of top of the line and allows us to deliver the latest sort of games engine software, which is really exciting, because that leads us into real current skills in the industry that we just wouldn't be able to even attempt if we didn't have that. But the companies were sort of saying to us, yeah, well, it goes without saying, you've got to teach this type of software and have this kind of hardware. but actually there's a kind of quality that, you know, candidates need to have: collaboration, teamwork, self-reflection, contextual knowledge. You know, we're an incredibly digital area, but then they started talking about, you know, understanding human anatomy and drawing and things like that. Yeah.
Just to add to your point, when we went to industry, we thought they were going to tell us to learn just the software and the technological aspects of our craft, but they really emphasized art fundamentals, color theory, and also communication amongst colleagues as a really essential skill as well.
Yeah, yeah. And actually,
can I just interject? Sorry, Don.
Of course you can.
And also just go back to Zoe and Ellie just for a second. Just it'd be nice to sort of illustrate the fact that they've gone from being a student at West King to working within the industry for a few years, and now they're coming back into education. So I'd quite like to just open that up to them again, if that's okay, in terms of how they felt prepared from West King, what they've learned from industry, and how they're bringing that back into the classroom.
Yeah, certainly. I don't think I actually mentioned in my introduction that I was probably on the early prototype of one of the courses here at West King back in like, God, it would have been like 2011. So, you know, I mean, it's actually been pretty phenomenal to come back after that amount of time, because I've been teaching for about 2 years, and just see kind of how different the college is and what sort of stuff they put in. Because, you know, I went off, so I did my level 3 course in, I believe it was interactive media at the time, which encompassed a lot of different mediums. And then I went off to go and get more into kind of animation at a different university, kind of outside of London. And it was really, really useful because actually, coming from West King, I was sort of put up against, you know, at this place, people who come from A levels and people that come from non-vocational courses. And a lot of the time you'd find that they'd come in and they just wouldn't kind of necessarily even understand how to even start with the software, or, you know, the idea that, you know, animation is created using computers now, you know, was actually kind of people didn't quite get that in 2011. I mean, obviously now I think that everybody could probably kind of tell from all the resources around that, you know, obviously how that works. But it gave me such a better footing kind of in that sense in coming into university over kind of other students that had taken courses that were kind of less vocational based in that sense. So it was really useful in that way. And also, you know, the soft skill stuff, the presenting, those kind of things, learning how to kind of give feedback about creative media was incredibly useful for stuff that I did outside of this. So after that, I went on to interning at places, and, you know, I went into sort of, you know, directing stuff for like Channel 4 and doing some like rough, what do they call them, like random acts animations and things. And when doing that, it was all about the group work. And that's the secret of industry, unless you are becoming an auteur. It's about learning how to kind of work with people, talk to them, communicate with them, what to expect from them, and how to use your own skills to teach them, as well as, you know, make really high quality work as well. And that's something, yeah, that West King definitely gave me a little bit of assistance with that one.
And now you get
know,
to bring that full circle now, don't you? You have to come bring that back in.
Absolutely, yeah, because I think as a director, you end up teaching. You know, it's kind of impossible to not teach, because you learn so many skills, you come through and you have to, you know, and versus an educational environment, in, you know, an industry environment, you have to get that information to people fast, and you need to get it to them on the job while they're trying to actually create something that's going to be put into production or practice. So, you know, it's very interesting to kind of come back here and be like, right, okay, so I had to teach people how to do this in about a day. And now I've got about 2 weeks to think, right, how can we really, you know, teach the theories, teach the practical aspects, get that all in for students now before they kind of have to actually go into industry and before they have to go into university.
Thank you, Zoe. That was really helpful.
Brilliant. Yeah, sorry, can I just pick up on something you said, Zoe, because that idea of kind of peer-to-peer learning, and I think, Ellie, you referenced this, even though you're a supervisor, you were taking critiques sort of, you know, from people working for you. We actually, Phil and I ran a GLA funded project, 2018, which was a sort of skills boot camp, which was a sort of an 8-week intensive visual effects boot camp, where precisely it was that sort of environment. We provided some, what we called sort of master technician influence, set them a live industry brief. But, you know, it's like watching a team gel and build themselves over those 8 weeks, and they were sort of lost in the wilderness for 4 days while they didn't have a master technician. They had to kind of bootstrap each other, which is exactly the kind of thing they'd be expected to do, which was really nice. And the reason I bring that up, because not only does it inform how we try and experiment with curriculum, but that sort of led us on to getting more GLA funded projects, which comes under the banner of the Mayor's Academy, which both Phil, who runs a creative Mayor's Academy, and Carlo runs a digital Mayor's Academy. I thought I'd bring Carlo in now just to talk about how that works, what it means, and what kind of influence that has on us as a 16 to 18 provider.
Thanks, Dom. Firstly, I think if, you know, like if you're a parent or you're 11 or you're trying to decide whether you want to go sixth form or get an apprenticeship or go to college, I think, you know, what FE colleges are good at, and West King is, you know, we've got the length and breadth of lots of different courses that are vocational that are linked to industry. And I think that's one of our USPs. The content of some of our courses is so up to date and relevant. I mean, we do A levels as well, but I mean, we're talking about digital at the moment. So for the digital courses, it's that kind of content which is really up to date, and like Dominique has been talking about how we build in industry skills into our courses. So with the Skills Academy, I mean, my main focus is, and Phil's will be around the creative industries, is, you know, how do we ensure that the curriculum is relevant, and, you know, we want to predict what the future skills are, we want to know what the skills gaps are, we want to make sure that when students come to the college, when they leave, they've actually got the skills that industry wants, not what's happening now, actually what's happening in the future. So when we formed like sectorial boards, so we've got employer boards, which we meet on a regular basis, and we're asking them constantly, what is it that you're looking for? You know, what are you lacking? And I know the curriculum have been talking about, you know, there's resilience and communication skills. I would say almost all the employees we speak to talk about those other skills that can add value to their company. So around presentation skills, around being flexible, agile, understanding data, being able to present, being able to change and look at things and adapt. So those kinds of skills that we also try and replicate and bring into the college. We run lots of events and networking sessions. We have mentoring, not one size fits all. And I think what's good about the college is we have an amazing support system around how we can support students that come in to get the best out of the training and the courses we have here. We have a huge apprenticeship fair. A lot of the advice that we give to students on the journey is impartial. So it's about making sure that the student is at the center of it. So anything, I mean, recently we've had employees that we've met that we've fed into curriculum. We've got a bunch of students going out to a huge event at Amazon that's coming up. So we're constantly working with industry and then seeing where we can place these employers. And a lot of the employers we work with will be aligned to certain courses and curriculum areas. So they become advocates, they almost sponsor, you know, that curriculum area. And I'm going to bring Suj in here actually, because Suj, do you want to talk about how you've like fed into the Skills Academy, and how, you know, like UX was kind of new to me until I kind of started on this like journey with the Skills Academy, and how, you know, UX is at the forefront now, and how industry is asking for those skills, and we're actually bringing them into the college. So over to you, Suj.
Yeah, sure. Hi, everyone. Our company has partnered with Westminster Kingsway to offer courses in user experience design. For those of you who are not familiar with user experience or UX, it's essentially the psychology of human behavior around digital or physical products with a key focus around empathy. So the more empathetic you are, the better you understand a person, the better you will be at building that product, whether physical or digital. It's also one of the most in-demand skill sets in the world within tech, mainly because any company with a website or an app needs a UX designer. The average salary in the UK has gone up. So if you're looking at a senior UX designer right now or product designer within the UK, you can fetch anything between 60 to 90K a year. And that's going up. One of the key benefits of it is remote working. So you can essentially be based from home for the majority of the roles. And the cool thing about design, essentially, it's portfolio based. So we're not looking at your ability to get a good grade on an exam here. It's your ability to demonstrate creativity and problem solving through a digital portfolio. So as an example, if you wanted to create, let's say you wanted to get a job at Adidas as an example, right? Your route to Adidas would be designing your own app. And when I say design, it doesn't mean that you have to develop it. You don't have to get developers involved. You just have to show a strategic breakdown of when the app starts, what button do you click? Where does that lead to? What problem are you solving? What are the target audiences behind it? And the basic way of looking at it is like, you've got a bunch of people on the screen, right? If you wanted to figure out an app for Adidas, you would ask everyone, you know, what kind of apps do they use at the moment? What features do they like? What don't they like? You can ask questionnaires, you can do surveys, you can do focus groups, and you can build personas around that. Once you have all of that research, you create a prototype, you build it, and that's pretty much it. West Kings is very lucky to be, I guess, having this relationship with us, because we've got two routes. One is UX research, which will be more the psychology behind design. And then we have the UX design component. Both courses are taught by industry experts. And at the end of the courses, we create recruitment events. So essentially what that means is the students will be able to showcase their work or their portfolios on their laptops. And we invite industry to come on board and kind of meet them. It's a good way for them to just show their work in an informal setting. And right now, we are hosting an event in partnership with both West Kings and also City and Kingston University. Yeah, that's pretty much it.
Brilliant. Thanks very much. Yeah, it actually something struck me as you were talking about those skills and the implications of how pervasive those skills are across many industries. Is that something you haven't talked about yet? That often sort of I've experienced with parents or prospective students where there might be some hesitation about taking a creative subject. Will there be a job at the end of it? You know, I think it's fair to say that the UK industry, the creative industry, is massive in terms of its sort of revenue it generates for this country. And, you know, there are thousands and thousands of small, medium enterprises. And the skills that you learn on a lot of our programs, these creative digital programs, are needed across and outside of all of the sort of creative industries too. I think architecture.
I mean, you know, it's also the rise of automation, right? Artificial intelligence is here. Everyone's using ChatGPT. If you haven't, give it a go. Essentially, we are going into this age where the value of empathy and creativity is a lot more. If you look at statistics, I think Walmart is about to cut 60% of its staff and replace it with robots in the US in the next 5 years. So looking at industries that are growing, I think it's quite crucial. But the creative element, especially around, you know, what makes you human, is probably more valuable than ever.
Yeah, wow, that's a sobering thought, actually.
I just wanted to add, and I think, you know, it's, you know, I think the thread is when you come to West King, you know, where we're constantly thinking about what the student's going to progress onto. So, you know, the course is just kind of like one element of, you know, their journey, which is the key element. Don't get me wrong, they need their qualifications, but actually what else can we give them so when they leave they're actually ready, because they are the future. They're the future talent of the digital age or the creative or whatever they want to get into. So it's, you know, how do we support them on that journey? And I think everyone on this call here, you know, curriculum, partnerships work, industry partnership work, you know, it's, you know, that's kind of the USP. You know, we're looking at where a student will end up. It's not just, you know, their entry point, it's where it's going to end up on the way. And I think it's great how we collaborate with so many people to make that happen. And I think, you know, the schools is slightly different because, you know, they don't have the time to build those partnerships. I think that's what we're really good at.
I think it's really important to add, actually, Carlo, thank you, that it's the student experience, as you said, it's what else can we add to their curriculum offer. And I've worked in previous organisations, and the emphasis on work experience in level 2, level 3, year 1 and 2 is phenomenal here. I haven't seen that before, and I think that's what struck me so much when I first started working here, is actually the amount of work that goes into that, to give the student the experience of industry placements and the worthwhile, meaningful industry placements as well. I've seen a report based on our curriculum and our students, and they're amazing. The actual industry placements that they've achieved to get the students into are fab, absolutely fab, the experience that they've had. So yeah, thank you.
Yeah, I know. I'd second that. I think we're very lucky to have good wraparound support for the students that come here. And in fact, towards that sort of work experience end, Adi, I know that, you know, many years ago you developed the sort of studio policy, didn't you? I wondered if you wanted to talk about the way in which we kind of, that speaks to the way we prepare students for getting out there in the world.
Yeah, no problem. So yeah, we had a behavior policy, and some students listened, but we tweaked it after all the teachers went to industry, and we turned it into a studio policy. So the things we're asking students to respect are the type of behaviors that they'd be expected to display when they're in industry. And since we've changed the wording into studio policy and linked it with industry, I think behavior on the animation and games course has been excellent.
Yeah, no, I'd agree with that. Well, I would agree, wouldn't I? Zoe, Ellie, do you think that's a fair assessment?
I think that's very true. Yeah.
Yeah, I agree.
Oh, good. We were right. Yeah. I just want to take this opportunity, sort of public service announcements, to a question that was put into the chat. I can't quite answer fully. We've been asked when we're starting data analysis or technician qualifications. Well, we aren't doing those specifically, but we will be starting T-levels in computing, which would be the design, production and development in September this coming year. Yes, I'm getting my dates wrong. So that will be starting up. So do watch out for our T-level routes in computing that are coming on stream. We will be doing more of them. We're trying to sort of gradually set up so that we get them right. So there will be more sort of computing strands alongside our creative technical, you know, aspirations too. I just wanted to put that over. So I hope that does answer the question. If not, do write in the chat and say, I still don't know, and we'll try and answer that. Apologies, I'm trying to figure out how to answer that question.
I can do that.
Yeah, thanks, Nikki. Cheers. Ellie, I wanted to come back to you and ask about your current, well, obviously you're joining us very shortly, which we're very excited about. I wonder if you could talk a little bit about your environment artist work, what that was like, that sort of experience of industry, and maybe a little bit about how you, because, you know, you've gone through our program, what you think you might be able to bring in to the curriculum to kind of make it more industry ready. Would you be able to try and speak to that?
Yeah. So my experience in the industry, I was in it for about a year and 3 months. I started off sort of being underneath the senior environmental artists we had before. And when they left, I was pushed up a role. It was mostly using Unreal Engine. At first, it was Unreal Engine 4. And then with the new Unreal Engine 5 coming out, we switched to 5. And it's a lot more sort of user-friendly, and everything is sort of really more optimized for people like sort of coming in who may not have used the engine before. And then with 5.1 coming out, it made it even better. And other things sort of were put on top, such as like optimization and things, which is very key in sort of game environments. But obviously, as said before, Unreal Engine can be used in animation, VFX. It's a very creative engine and a very good tool made by Epic.
Just to interject, Ellie, just at the risk of being patronising to people on the call, that Unreal Engine is responsible for the game Fortnite, which maybe people might recognise. If they're not familiar with the engine, they might be at least be tormented by that game Fortnite. So it's a games engine. So yeah, sorry, Ellie, do carry on.
Yeah, it was quite a demanding going into the industry sort of straight after I came out of university, and obviously attending the college before that. Something I think I can bring to the course is definitely teaching more about optimization and how to use the sort of more tech art based tools in the engine, like the GPU visualizer, to tell what part of your map or game is hurting what hardware and things. And then sort of new things with LODs, Nanite, visual map rendering, that there are loads of things, but optimization is definitely something I want to bring and will bring, because it's not really taught in the past, as it's a lot easier to find resources now than it was a few years ago.
Brilliant. Yeah, I mean, and we're really excited about that. And I know we sort of at first played down the sort of technical requirements, because it is vital about all of those sort of skills, other skills, resilience and so forth, but actually, you know, staying on top of the technology to make sure there's some critical hard skills is also, I think, what sets us apart too. So we do look to those optimizations, as Ellie said, as much as possible where we can in our curriculum, and try and keep on top of that. We are actually looking to redesign parts of our network to support those things much better. And we're constantly, luckily, we have industry advisory boards, which Carlo may want to speak to about, and maybe Phil, that, you know, it's an opportunity to meet with industry so they can give us their feedback, talk about things like those skills gaps, what's going on, and then as a sort of virtuous circle, it comes back and we try and incorporate it. And that affects everything: hardware, software, curriculum delivery. Phil, I don't know if you wanted to sort of come in on the benefits of that industry conversation and how you've experienced it over the years, especially as you come from, you know, being a VFX artist, owning your own studio, into education and bringing them together.
Sure. I mean, industry, it's always obvious. You think, oh, well, they'll tell us about what gear we should be using and what software. And I think that's what we all expected a few years ago when we started working together. But what I notice more now actually is that once we've got good enough equipment in there, and you start working in the style of a studio, which is what we've been talking about this evening, the latest types of industry challenges that we're running, which are 1 week long briefs from industry. For the last ones I saw was it was from Creative Assembly and Ocean Research. So it was games based. AD, have you guys done it yet, or they're about to do it?
Yeah, we did it.
Yeah, you've done it recently. Yeah, great.
Right.
So I mean, what I've noticed the employers responding to that activity, which is remote, which means a lot of people get to do it, and we use it using a piece of technology called Miro. So it means that teams from around the country can see each other's work, as well as teams from within colleges. So it allows the students to benchmark each other. But what the employers are feeding back to me, what they're really enjoying, is seeing people work as teams, seeing people collaborate, the communication, the iteration. So these things are always cyclical. Sometimes we concentrate on what's the hardware, what's the software that we must use, and then we end up going back to well, I think that Sagu was saying that the human qualities become more important. Can you communicate and all that stuff? Yeah,
absolutely. And I do, it's sort of drummed into me, but it is always a cycle. There's this sort of cyclical thing, and I think we are good at doing that, or at least we strive to be better all the time at trying to have those conversations, because it never stops, does it? Especially in the sort of digital space and the creative digital space. You know, you stand still it's that Red Queen idea, you keep running just to stay at a pace. So yeah, that's something I'm quite proud of, over seeing the sort of last however many years of a development, particularly in a subject like animation and games, which we just sort of AD invented here, in the sense of sort of spinning it up, and how that's kind of well, it's true, and how that's evolved and what we've kind of put into it, and then bringing industry in, bringing people like Phil from Next Gen in, and working together. It's that's what we're trying to replicate: collaboration. That's what we're asking students to do, to become great employees, and that's what we should replicate in education as well. That's the thing I'm most proud of. Yeah. That was my big finale, Nikki.
No, I was gonna
Go on, Carlo.
I just had a thought, actually, as Phil was talking, actually. So it's kind of like, like progression is really high at West King as well. We have over 1,000 students that go on and apply for university, and year on year, more students are applying for apprenticeships. We have a dedicated degree apprenticeship program, which supports students into apprenticeships. So we don't say university is better than apprenticeships or work. They exist side by side. It's whatever route a student wants to take, but we have dedicated teams that support them into those apprenticeships. And we've got, and I know that we're running some with Phil with Next Gen, but also the degree apprenticeships. Year on year, more and more students are coming to us for support and getting onto those apprenticeships. So progression is, we've got a high percentage that go on to positive destinations, whatever that may be for students. And some of the really amazing activities that they get to do, the students, is around, I know that, the digital team and the STEAM team, there's competitions that they can enter, and, we usually win. We're really good at that. There's awards and mentoring and career ready programs that students sign up for. And I know that year on year, our students thrive and do really well at being exposed to all these different activities. Again, it's all around employability and industry, which enhances the curriculum. So I think it's when a student comes to West King, there's, it's not one size fits all. So depending on their interests or how they learn or what they need to build and boost their skills, the college has got like a vast array of enrichment to support them. Sectorial boards, I was going to mention, because Dominic mentioned them as well. So our industry sectorial boards, each curriculum area has a sectorial board, which sits within that area. So Nikki's curriculum has employees that she constantly works with and talks to ensure, again, I'm kind of repeating myself, to ensure that we feed as much in to the classroom as industry wants. So we're kind of replicating as much as we can. Even the studio that we've got on the 4th floor is very much like a studio that you'd find at maybe Framestore or Google or one of those big startups. It's all open plan. So everything that we're doing, we're trying to keep up to date with what the world is asking for, and that means personal skills and personal behaviour and how you act, but also the skills that will get you the job as well. Those kind of work skills.
Yeah, absolutely. Nikki, I wondered if I could sort of finish up by asking an open question to all the panelists here, put them on the spot.
Absolutely fine. And then we've just got one other question from the audience after that.
Oh, okay. All right. Well, so I was going to ask everyone, put them on the spot. Can you provide one piece of advice for someone just starting out in a field? So you can take your own given field. So who wants to shout first?
I can go for it. I think one of the things that I notice with students that first come on the course is just that kind of fear of messing up, coming in and we ask you to do a little bit of drawing because it's a creative course, honestly, and just immediately coming pencil to paper and going, I can't draw, I can't do this. just keeping an open mind with all of the different subjects we throw at you, because you never know what stuff is going to just appeal to you. You know, we have people that start off being, I'm going to be a 2D animator, I'm going to do it, and they leave going, okay, great, I'm a game designer now. I've decided, I've learned skills, and I've kind of got these things. So be open to, you know, all of these kind of skills that we give you, I think, and really, you know, don't fear. You know, you're here to learn if you're on this course. So, you know, we're hopefully going to be able to give you those skills, and you won't be as nervous anymore.
And I think I'm just going to follow on from that, and it's about embracing all the experiences that are on offer as a student here at West King. It's everything. It's the student experience, it's the enrichment programs, it's the environment, it's the collaboration, it's the community, everything. Just get involved in absolutely everything that's on.
Great. I'm going to dive in then, because I asked the question, I'll answer my own question. So I'm going to cheat and steal it from the lead 3D modeling supervisor at a world famous Framestore, and say that often students want to come in, there's an expectation that, particularly in the sort of creative technical subjects, you know, you want to be able to immediately replicate a scene from Iron Man 3. You're not going to, because there's 500 artists working on something like that. So get really, really good at crafting something small perfectly, because that's the level of detail they're kind of aspiring to in those environments. So there you go, start small. Anyone else want to weigh in?
Yeah, I was going to say, similar to you, Dominic, when it comes to sort of environment design, usually when you come into this, especially in the college, you're probably working either with yourself or in small groups, whereas the team I was in was within like 5 to 7 people working on one environment. So don't take on too many tasks. And another thing is research is quite key. You may want to make, for example, a really nice desert that has a certain type of cactus in it that doesn't grow in that type of desert if you're making a realistic game. So research on sort of what grows where, and what maybe in this part, or where this part is based in this part of the world, or if it's a fantasy and so on, it doesn't really matter. But research is also quite key when making environments.
Excellent, thank you. And Phil, I believe you have your hand up. That's very good.
I'm being ever so polite. I just wanted to pick up on something that Zoe was saying about trying out different things, because I come across lots of students who will say, I only want to code, or I only want to do art. And if you saw it on the news, Rishi Sunak did a presentation at the London Screen Academy on Monday morning at 9 o'clock. And he was talking about maths, because that's his favorite thing to talk about at the moment, it would seem. But he actually said that VFX don't get made unless you know about vectors and matrices. And on the next gen course that you guys deliver, all the components are mandatory. So you must do some maths, and you must do some coding, and you must do some art. And that's really important, because when you end up in the workplace, it doesn't matter if you don't use matrices in your work, but you know that they're part of the whole workflow. And it's good that you can understand what the person on your left or your right is doing, or the people on the floor below or above you, or in another office in another city. So having been exposed at level 3 to the fundamentals, which include maths, coding, art, design, problem solving, if you've had a good basis in all of those, then you can specialize and get really good at doing one thing. But Zoe's point about be open, try it. Yes, absolutely, you must.
Brilliant. I'm aware we're running out of time. Does anyone want to weigh in on that question?
So do you want to go?
Just a quick note from me. I mean, look, this is obviously going to be a new step for a lot of young people, or and people in general, to, you know, try their hand at something new. Research doesn't always have to be, you know, what you perceive it to be. You can go on YouTube and look at what it's like in the day in the life of an FX designer or a UX designer or a developer. You can kind of see that for yourself. Like, look into the background of different companies, find out what people are saying. Doing something academically and then working in the industry can be two different things. So just choose wisely.
Great.
Yeah.
Thank you.
And I'm just going to end with, I'm just going to encompass what everyone said, but basically, you know, just be brave. You know, this is a journey. You're going to come into college, yeah, and the person you are when you come in is going to be a different person, hopefully. Just embrace everything to the person you're going to be when you leave. And we've all seen this journey because we like worked with you. And we've seen how you've developed, grown and thrived, and you're all going to be different. You're all unique. Just come and have a go at, so exactly what everyone said. But if there's something we offer you and you're not sure about it, then just have a go. Because literally there's been so many students that have tried something and then said, oh, I missed that, was so good, yeah. I'm so glad I went to that event, or I'm so glad I learned about UX, or I wasn't even going to bother, but actually I made a really good connection. So remember, it's a journey, and everyone here is here to support you on that journey.
Thank you. And Nikki, I believe there's some questions.
Yes, yeah. So really just to put out there that the recording for this event and the previous event, which was Careers in Creatives, will be on our social media website, and the video links will be emailed to the attendees also. All right, so you will get them one way or another. So that's for this event and for the previous event that was held last month. All right, so I just want to finish off by saying a huge thank you to absolutely everyone, the participants, the parents, the panel members for giving up their time. I really appreciate it. I think it's been an absolutely fantastic event. So much information, a wealth of knowledge that we've had here. So hopefully everyone's really enjoyed themselves. So thank you so much and have a good evening.
Yes. Good night, everyone.
Good night.